The alarm woke Commander Allison Wright from a deep sleep. She grabbed her uniform and rushed to the bridge of the U.S. Vigilant. Red lights flashed as crew members ran to their stations. "Report," she ordered, taking her seat. Officer Ryan Stevens pointed to the main screen. "Unknown object entered our solar system 30 minutes ago. It's moving fast, Commander." Allison studied the readings. The object was unlike anything she had seen before. It moved with purpose, slowing down as it approached Mars. "Send a message on all channels," she said. "Standard greeting protocol." For 3 days, the strange ship ignored all attempts at communication. Earth's leaders grew nervous. Some wanted to prepare weapons. Others suggested patience. On the 4th day, the alien vessel finally responded. "They're sending coordinates for a meeting," said Lieutenant Eric Martinez, excitement in his voice. "They want to talk." The meeting location was set for neutral space near the moon. Commander Wright led a small team on the Vigilance shuttle. Her heart raced as their small craft approached the massive alien ship. It was beautiful and terrifying. All sleek curves and glowing lights. A beam of light brought Allison and her team aboard. They found themselves in a large room with strange symbols on the walls. The air smelled like metal and something sweet. 3 tall figures entered. They had bluish skin, 4 arms, and large eyes that seemed to look through rather than at the humans. The center alien wore elaborate clothing with shining metals. "I am Zorathi Ambassador Krell of the Dominion," the alien said in perfect English. "We have studied your transmissions." Allison stepped forward. "Commander Allison Wright of Earth, we welcome you and hope for peaceful relations between our peoples." Ambassador Krell made a sound like quiet laughter. "Your species is still primitive. We have traveled between stars for thousands of years, while you have barely touched your own moon." "We're young as a spacefaring species," Allison admitted, "but we've made rapid progress. We have much to offer in trade and knowledge." The ambassador waved 2 of his 4 arms dismissively. "Perhaps in a few centuries you might be worth proper diplomatic relations. For now, we merely inform you of our presence as a courtesy." Eric Martinez frowned. He noticed other aliens scanning the humans with small devices. "What are those for?" he asked, pointing. "Standard procedures," Ambassador Krell said quickly. "Nothing concerning." The meeting continued for another hour. The humans tried to establish common ground, but the Zorathi showed little interest. They asked brief questions about Earth's resources and defenses, then changed the subject when humans asked about Zorathi society or technology. Back on the shuttle, Martinez pulled up readings from their own scanners. "Commander, they were scanning our ship specifications, weapons systems, and biological makeup. Far more than they needed for a friendly chat." Allison nodded grimly. "I noticed. They barely tried to hide their contempt." "What do we do now?" asked Medical Officer Lisa Cooper. Before Allison could answer, a message came through. The Zorathi ship was leaving. Their final transmission was brief. "The Earth system has been categorized as irrelevant to Dominion interests at this time." Martinez slammed his fist on the console. "Irrelevant. They just dismissed our entire civilization." "Maybe that's for the best," Allison said quietly. "I don't trust their intentions." As they watched the alien ship accelerate away, Allison made a decision. "When we return, I'm recommending we begin preparing." Their scans, their questions, they were assessing us as a potential threat or resource, not as equals. The shuttle returned to the Vigilant in silence. Earth had made first contact, but instead of celebration, a sense of unease spread through the crew. The Zorathi had underestimated humans, treating them as barely worth noticing. That might be their first mistake. As the Zorathi ship vanished from their sensors, Allison looked at her crew. "They think we're primitive and irrelevant. Let's make sure we're ready if they ever change their minds." 5 years passed since the Zorathi ship left Earth's solar system. Life seemed to return to normal. But deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, humanity had been hard at work. Dr. Samantha Powell wiped sweat from her forehead as she made final adjustments to her engine prototype. The room hummed with energy as other scientists watched with nervous excitement. "Are you sure this will work?" asked her assistant. Samantha nodded. "The math is solid. If I'm right, this engine will move us faster than anything we've built before." She pressed a button. The small model engine glowed blue, then lifted off the table and hovered. Numbers on nearby screens jumped higher than anyone expected. The room erupted in cheers. "We did it," Samantha whispered. "We can travel beyond our system now." Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, Major Kyle Harrison led a team of 12 soldiers into a sleek black spacecraft. This was no ordinary mission. The ship, named Shadow, carried Earth's first long-range reconnaissance team. "Remember," Kyle told his team, "we observe only. No contact with any alien life unless absolutely necessary." The Shadow launched quietly from a hidden base in the Pacific Ocean. Using Dr. Powell's new engine, they left the solar system within days rather than years. Their mission: find out more about the Zorathi. For 3 months, they traveled carefully through space. Eventually, they found what they were looking for: signs of Zorathi activity near a distant star system. "Keep us hidden," Kyle ordered as they approached an asteroid field. The ship's new stealth technology kept them invisible to sensors. What they saw shocked them. The Zorathi were at war. Their ships fired upon vessels of another alien race. The battle was fierce, with weapons far beyond Earth's capabilities. "Who are they fighting?" asked Sergeant Alan Foster. "According to the communications we're picking up, they're called the Nilari," replied Communications Officer Jenna Howard. "Sounds like this war has been going on for some time." Kyle watched the battle closely. Notice how the Zorathi fight. All power, no subtlety. They outnumber the Nilari but still lose ships because of poor tactics. They recorded everything: weapon capabilities, shield strengths, communication patterns. Most importantly, they noticed weaknesses in Zorathi strategy. On the other side of the galaxy, Captain Frank Morgan commanded the UEF vessel Defiance. His mission was similar to Kyle's team, but focused on different Zorathi territory. "They're mining this entire moon," reported Science Officer Grace Williams, "stripping it bare of all resources." Frank nodded. "And look how they do it. No thought for preserving anything. They take what they want and leave destruction behind." Back on Earth, nations that once fought each other now worked together. The United Earth Fleet grew in secret. Ships were built inside hollowed-out asteroids. Training facilities operated beneath ocean floors. Dr. Nathan Clark led a team studying scraps of technology the Zorathi had carelessly left behind during their brief visit. "Their arrogance helps us," Nathan told Admiral Patricia Summers as they walked through a lab filled with prototypes. "They left sensors active, thinking we couldn't possibly understand their technology. But we're learning fast." Patricia stopped at a window overlooking a massive construction bay. 5 warships were being built simultaneously. "Will we be ready if they return?" "Not yet," Nathan admitted, "but we're making progress every day. And we have one advantage they don't expect." "What's that?" asked Patricia. "They think we're primitive. They ignored us, so they have no idea what we're building here." In a remote star system, far from Earth and Zorathi space, a small human colony took shape. 1,000 volunteers established humanity's first backup plan, a hidden outpost that would survive even if Earth fell. The colony leader, Dr. Helen Rivera, watched as families built homes under an alien sky. "We work in the shadows," she told her people, preparing for a storm that may never come. "But if it does, humanity will be ready." News spread quickly through the hidden human intelligence network. The Zorathi were losing ground in their war against the Nilari. 7 years had passed since first contact, and humanity watched from the shadows as the conflict intensified. Lieutenant Eric Martinez, now a commander, reviewed the latest reports in the underground command center beneath Geneva. His screen showed Zorathi ships retreating from yet another battlefield. "They're getting desperate," he told Admiral Patricia Summers. "Our observers report they've lost 3 major systems in the past month." Patricia frowned. Desperate enemies make dangerous choices. Her words proved true sooner than expected. The next day, alarms blared throughout the command center. A fleet of Zorathi ships had entered the outer solar system without warning. "They're not answering any communication attempts," reported Communications Officer Ben Kelly. 15 vessels moving toward the asteroid belt. Patricia activated the emergency protocol. Hidden human ships powered up but remained concealed. "Track them, but do not engage. Let's see what they want first." The answer came 3 days later when the Zorathi ships began mining operations in the asteroid belt. They didn't ask permission. They didn't acknowledge Earth's existence. They simply took what they wanted. High Commander Vrax of the Zorathi Dominion sent instructions to his mining fleet from his war headquarters. "Extract all valuable minerals. We need resources for the war effort. That primitive planet hasn't advanced enough to stop us or even notice what we're taking." On Earth, the UEF Council gathered to discuss the invasion. Representatives from every nation watched footage of Zorathi mining ships tearing apart asteroids. "They're stealing from our system," said the representative from Brazil. "We should stop them." "With what?" asked another council member. "Our fleet is growing but not ready for direct confrontation." Admiral Summers stood up. "I propose we continue observing while accelerating our preparations. The Zorathi don't know our true capabilities. Let's keep it that way for now." Most council members agreed, but their decision was tested just 1 week later. A small research outpost on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, went silent. The 6 scientists stationed there had been monitoring Jovian radiation patterns. When a rescue team arrived, they found only debris. A Zorathi mining ship had destroyed the outpost while collecting ice from Europa's surface. "They didn't even try to avoid it," reported the rescue team leader. "According to our scans, they saw the outpost and classified it as insignificant debris to be cleared for mining operations." The news hit Earth hard. 6 lives lost because the Zorathi couldn't be bothered to go around a human facility. Protests broke out in major cities. People demanded action against the aliens who treated human life as worthless. In a secure meeting room, Admiral Summers faced angry council members. "We must respond," insisted the representative from India. "We cannot allow them to kill our people without consequences. If we reveal our true strength now, we lose the element of surprise," argued Patricia. "We need more time." "Time won't bring back those scientists," said another council member. Meanwhile, on the Nilari homeworld, UEF observer Captain Olivia Bennett made contact with Nilari leadership. Her mission had evolved from simple intelligence gathering to potential alliance building. "The Zorathi treat all species as beneath them," said the Nilari ambassador, a tall being with golden scales and 4 eyes. "They mine our worlds, destroy our colonies, and ignore our diplomatic attempts, just as they now do in your system." Olivia nodded. "We've been watching and preparing. We know they're vulnerable despite their technology." "How?" asked the ambassador. "Because they underestimate everyone," Olivia explained. "They don't believe we could possibly be a threat, and that makes them blind to what we've become." Back on Earth, Admiral Summers finally reached a compromise with the Council. They would remain hidden, but accelerate their preparations and place defense systems near remaining outposts. Humanity would watch, learn, and ready itself for the inevitable confrontation. "We won't strike first," Patricia told her commanders. "But when we do strike, they'll never see it coming." 8 months after the Europa incident, the situation worsened dramatically. Zorathi mining ships, having stripped the asteroid belt of valuable minerals, turned their attention to Earth's moon. Massive vessels positioned themselves above the lunar surface and began extracting resources. People on Earth could see the mining operations with simple telescopes. Bright flashes lit up the night as Zorathi ships cut deep into the moon's surface. News channels showed the damage in real time. Dr. Samantha Powell watched from her laboratory window anger building inside her. "They're treating our moon like it's nothing but a rock," she said to Dr. Nathan Clark. "It gets worse," Nathan replied, showing her data on his tablet. "The mining is affecting the moon's mass. Our calculations show it could impact Earth's tides and weather patterns if they continue." The first disaster struck 3 days later. Mining debris escaped the Zorathy's containment fields and fell toward Earth. Most pieces burned up in the atmosphere, creating spectacular meteor showers. But larger chunks made it through. A coastal town in Australia was hit first. Then a farming community in Russia. The death toll reached into the hundreds. Hospitals filled with injured people. And still, the Zorathy continued mining, ignoring all attempts at communication. Commander Eric Martinez stood in the UEF Emergency Operations Center, watching footage of rescue teams digging through rubble. "This is no longer about hiding our capabilities," he said. "It's about protecting our people." Admiral Patricia Summers nodded grimly. "The Council has given authorization. Operation First Strike is approved." Across the solar system, hidden human ships powered up. Years of preparation were about to be tested. Near the moon, a Zorathy vessel detected an approaching ship. "Primitive craft on intercept course," reported a Zorathy officer to his captain. Likely another attempt at communication. The captain barely looked up from his control panel. "Ignore it. These humans are persistent but harmless." The small human shuttle continued approaching. Inside, Captain Olivia Bennett and her strike team prepared for boarding. Their ship was designed to appear primitive on outside scans, while hiding advanced technology within. As they came alongside the Zorathy vessel, the alien captain finally took notice. "They're too close. Send a warning shot across their path." But the Zorathy gunner, annoyed at the interruption, aimed directly at the shuttle instead. "Why waste time? Let's just remove this irrelevant biological waste." The Zorathy weapon fired, but the shuttle wasn't where it had been. Using Dr. Powell's advanced propulsion system, it dodged with impossible speed, then vanished completely from Zorathy sensors. "Where did it go?" demanded the captain. He got his answer seconds later when Olivia's team cut through the Zorathy hull from an unexpected angle. Wearing advanced spacesuits, the strike team moved through the alien ship with practiced precision. They used non-lethal stunning weapons, taking the crew alive. Within 20 minutes, they controlled the bridge. Olivia stood over the stunned Zorathy captain. "You should have answered our calls," she said, though she knew he couldn't hear her yet. Back on Earth, scientists and engineers swarmed the captured ship. It was humanity's first chance to examine Zorathy technology up close. Dr. Nathan Clark discovered something disturbing in the ship's database. They'd been surveying Earth for mining potential. He told Admiral Summers, "Once their war with the Nilari is finished, they plan to strip mine our entire planet." The captured Zorathy officer laughed when confronted with this information. "Your species will be forgotten dust," he said through a translation device. "The Dominion takes what it needs. You cannot stop us." Admiral Summers leaned close to the alien. "We've been watching you for years, learning your weaknesses, building our strength, and you never noticed because you thought we were too primitive to be a threat." The Zorathy laughed again, but with less confidence. "Your primitive weapons cannot harm our fleet." "Would you like to see our real weapons?" Patricia asked quietly. That night, as the moon glowed in the sky, partially scared from Zorathy mining, humanity prepared to show the galaxy they would not be ignored any longer. Admiral Gregory Washington stood on the bridge of the UEF flagship Determination, hidden within the dark side of Mars. Around him, officers prepared for humanity's first major military operation against the Zorathy. After years of secrecy, the time had come to reveal their true strength. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said his second-in-command. Gregory nodded. "Begin Operation Revelation." Across the solar system, hidden bases activated. From the hollowed asteroids, the moons of Jupiter, and the rings of Saturn, human ships emerged. The fleet numbered over 200 vessels, all built with reverse-engineered and improved Zorathy technology. On Earth, millions watched their screens as Admiral Washington addressed the world. Today we show the Zorathi that humanity will not be ignored or destroyed. We have prepared for this moment for 8 years. Trust in your fleet. The first Zorathi mining ship noticed something unusual on their sensors. Captain, multiple objects approaching from all directions, reported a confused officer. The Zorathi captain frowned. Humans have nothing that could reach us this quickly. Check your equipment. By the time they realized the truth, it was too late. Human ships surrounded the mining fleet. Using Dr. Powell's propulsion system, they moved with speed the Zorathi thought impossible for primitive humans. Colonel Diana Russell led the first attack wave. Her ships fired precise shots that disabled the Zorathi mining vessels without destroying them. Target their engines and weapons only, she ordered her gunners. We want prisoners, not casualties. The Zorathi, caught completely by surprise, barely had time to raise shields. Within 30 minutes, all 17 mining ships were disabled. Admiral Washington opened a channel to the disabled Zorathi flagship. This is Admiral Gregory Washington of the United Earth Fleet. Your mining operations in our system are over. Surrender your vessels or be destroyed. The Zorathi mining commander couldn't believe what was happening. How is this possible? Your species was pre-spaceflight less than a decade ago. You underestimated us. Washington replied simply. That was your first mistake. News of the human attack reached Zorathi High Command quickly. High Commander Vrax was pulled from a war meeting about the Nilari front. Impossible, he said when told of the mining fleet's defeat. These humans are barely more advanced than animals. His advisor showed him the footage. Nevertheless, they have somehow developed ships comparable to our own. Vrax waved dismissively. A minor setback. Send a single battlecruiser. That should be more than enough to handle these upstart primitives. Back in Earth's solar system, the human fleet gathered the disabled Zorathi ships. Engineers and scientists boarded them, gathering more valuable intelligence and technology. Dr. Nathan Clark found something important on one of the captured vessels. Admiral Summers, he called excitedly over the comm. They have detailed maps of Zorathi space, including defense systems and supply routes. Patricia smiled. Download everything. This could change the entire war. 3 days after the mining fleet's defeat, sensors detected a massive Zorathi battlecruiser entering the solar system. It was 3 times larger than their largest mining vessel, bristling with weapons. They're sending us a message, said Commander Eric Martinez. One ship to show how little they think of our victory. Admiral Washington gathered his officers. They still don't understand what they're facing. Colonel Russell, assemble your fast attack squadrons. Diana nodded. My pilots are ready. Sir. The Zorathi battlecruiser approached Earth with confidence. Its commander sent a simple message. Surrender the mining vessels and submit to Dominion authority, or face extinction. Earth sent no reply. Instead, 30 small, fast human ships appeared around the battlecruiser. Using tactics developed from years of studying Zorathi weaknesses, they struck from multiple angles, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted. The massive battlecruiser fired its weapons into empty space as the human ships danced around it. One by one, Diana's squadron disabled the Zorathi ship's weapon systems and engines. Within 2 hours, the mighty battlecruiser floated powerless in space. For the first time, the Zorathi High Command recognized humanity as a potential threat. But even then, they couldn't accept the truth. A lucky victory, High Commander Vrax told his generals. Nothing more. These humans cannot possibly challenge the Dominion. His greatest mistake was still believing humans were beneath his notice. With 2 victories against the Zorathi, humanity's confidence grew. But Admiral Patricia Summers knew they couldn't win a long war against the vast Zorathi Dominion alone. In a secure meeting room deep beneath Geneva, she outlined her plan to Earth's leadership. We need allies, she said simply. The Nilari have been fighting the Zorathi for decades. They have experience and resources we lack. The UEF Council agreed. The next day, Ambassador Joseph Bennett, departed with a small fleet toward Nilari space. His mission: forge an alliance against their common enemy. After 2 weeks of travel, Joseph's ships reached the edge of Nilari territory. They were met by cautious but curious Nilari vessels. "We come in peace and friendship," Joseph transmitted. "We share an enemy in the Zorathi Dominion." The Nilari Supreme Council agreed to meet with the human ambassador. In a grand hall with high ceilings and strange plants, Joseph stood before tall, golden-scaled aliens with multiple eyes. "Our observers have watched your species for some time," said the Nilari leader. "Your victory against the Zorathi mining fleet was impressive." Joseph nodded. "But we need more than isolated victories to stop the Zorathi threat. We propose an alliance." "What can humans offer that would help our war effort?" asked a skeptical Nilari general. "You are newcomers to space." Joseph smiled. "Sometimes new eyes see old problems differently." He activated a holographic display showing Zorathi fleet movements based on data from captured ships. "We've analyzed their tactical patterns. They always attack the same way, with the same formations. They'd never adapt." The Nilari studied the display with growing interest. Joseph continued, "We also have these." He revealed schematics for Dr. Powell's propulsion system and Dr. Clark's weapons advancements. "How did you develop these so quickly?" asked an amazed Nilari scientist. "The Zorathi gave us their technology without realizing it," Joseph explained. "They left behind enough pieces during their brief visits for our scientists to study. Their arrogance made them careless. After 3 days of negotiations, the Human-Nilari Alliance was formed. Earth provided tactical innovations and technology, while the Nilari contributed their vast fleets and resources. Meanwhile, Major Vincent Garcia led a special operations team on a critical mission. Using a captured Zorathi ship and information from the Nilari, they infiltrated a major Zorathi communications hub in a distant star system. "Move quickly and quietly," Vincent told his team as they boarded the station disguised as Zorathi maintenance workers. "We have 30 minutes before the real crew arrives." Inside the station, they planted devices designed by Dr. Clark that would tap into the Zorathi network without being detected. Before leaving, they also installed a special program that would activate weeks later. Back on the war front, the Alliance began working. UEF ships using stealth technology targeted Zorathi supply lines. Small fast vessels appeared from nowhere, disabled Zorathi freighters, and vanished before reinforcements arrived. The Nilari, using human tactical advice, changed their battle formations to counter Zorathi strengths. For the first time in decades, they began winning major engagements. High Commander Vrax grew increasingly frustrated. "How are they anticipating our movements?" he demanded of his generals. "And where did the humans learn to build such advanced ships?" "Perhaps we underestimated them," suggested one brave advisor. Vrax struck the advisor across the face. "Impossible. They are merely lucky, nothing more." 2 months into the alliance, Vincent's program activated across the Zorathi communication network. Every screen in Zorathi space suddenly showed footage of their mining ships destroying human outposts, their plans to strip mine Earth, and their casual dismissal of other species as irrelevant. The broadcast reached not just the Zorathi, but also dozens of other species under Dominion control. Planets that had quietly submitted to Zorathi rule for centuries saw the truth. They were all considered expendable resources. On Earth, Admiral Summers watched the situation unfold. The Zorathi built their empire on fear and isolation, she told her officers. They kept each conquered species separated, making them believe resistance was pointless. Now they all know the truth. Reports came in of uprisings on Zorathi-controlled worlds. The Dominion's forces, already stretched thin fighting the Nilari, now faced internal rebellion. "Their mistake wasn't just underestimating us," said Commander Eric Martinez. "It was believing they could treat all other life as beneath them without consequences." High Commander Vrax stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's might. Around him, reports flooded in from across Zorathi space. Rebellion had spread to 12 major worlds. The Nilari pushed forward on the eastern front. And now, humans were attacking key military installations with shocking precision. Enough. Vrax slammed his 4 fists on the command table. These humans have interfered for the last time. Prepare the armada. I will lead it personally. His generals exchanged worried glances. High Commander, the armada is needed against the Nilari, one dared to say. Vrax glared at him. The humans are the source of our troubles. Once they are destroyed, the Nilari will fall back into line, as will the rebellious worlds. 3 weeks later, the largest Zorathi fleet ever assembled entered Earth's solar system. Over 500 warships moved in perfect formation toward the blue planet. Vrax sent a transmission to Earth. I am High Commander Vrax of the Zorathi Dominion. Your species has become an annoyance. Surrender now, and I will allow some of your population to live as servants. Resist, and I will turn your world to ash. On Earth, Admiral Patricia Summers watched the massive fleet approach. Despite the fear that gripped her, she smiled. Right on schedule, she said to her officers. Is everyone in position? Commander Eric Martinez nodded. All ships ready. The Nilari fleet is waiting at the jump point. Patricia opened a channel to the Zorathi flagship. High Commander Vrax, this is Admiral Summers of the United Earth Fleet. We reject your offer. The Zorathi Dominion's days of bullying other species are over. Vrax laughed. You are either brave or foolish. Where is your fleet, human? Hiding. Not hiding, Patricia replied. Waiting. She nodded to her communications officer, who sent a simple signal. Immediately, the space around the Zorathi armada lit up as hundreds of human ships dropped their stealth fields. They had been there all along, perfectly positioned between the Zorathi vessels. Before Vrax could react, a second signal went out. A massive flash appeared at the edge of the solar system as the Nilari fleet arrived through the jump point Dr. Powell had helped them create. The Zorathi armada was surrounded. Attack, Vrax ordered, his voice rising in panic. Destroy them all. The battle began. Human ships darted between the larger Zorathi vessels, using their superior speed and maneuverability. The Nilari fleet pressed from the other side with overwhelming firepower. For 2 days, the battle raged across the solar system. Human and Nilari ships took heavy losses, but the Zorathi fared worse. Their rigid tactics, unchanged for centuries, made them predictable. By contrast, the human Nilari forces adapted constantly, never attacking the same way twice. On the 3rd day, Admiral Summers gave the order she had hoped to avoid. Deploy the singularity weapons. Small human ships moved into key positions around the remaining Zorathi fleet. Each carried Dr. Clark's most advanced creation, weapons that created controlled micro-singularities. When activated, they generated localized gravity wells that disabled Zorathi ships without destroying them. One by one, the mighty Zorathi warships found themselves powerless, pulled into stable orbits around the temporary singularities. From the bridge of his crippled flagship, High Commander Vrax watched in disbelief as his armada was neutralized without being destroyed. When Admiral Summers' face appeared on his screen, he finally understood. You could have destroyed us, he said slowly. Patricia nodded. We could have. But unlike you, we don't believe other species are expendable. For the first time in his life, Vrax felt fear. What do you want? Peace, Patricia answered. Real peace, not domination. The Dominion does not surrender, Vrax said, but his voice lacked conviction. The Dominion, as it was, is finished, Patricia told him. But your species can have a future as equals, not conquerors. 6 months later, representatives from 27 species gathered on Earth for the founding of the Galactic Council. Humans, Nilari, and even reformed Zorathi sat together as equals. Ambassador Joseph Bennett was elected as the first council president. In an observatory overlooking the meeting hall, Dr. Samantha Powell stood with Lieutenant Eric Martinez, now a full admiral. Did you ever imagine this when the Zorathi first arrived? She asked him. Eric shook his head. Never. I just wanted them to treat us with respect. Samantha smiled as ships from a dozen different species arrived in Earth orbit, bringing more delegates. Their first mistake was underestimating us. Their last was ignoring us. I think they've learned their lesson. Let's hope everyone has, Eric replied. The future's going to be interesting.